Hello, art lovers. Welcome to the Art Bid. Today's edition, we are talking everything authors, everything writers. You know, we're going to be having a chat with Lindsay. She is an author. All you have to do is be there. Do not go anywhere. Tell another art lover that Art Bid is on your screen. The name is Chiso Manyuendo. Please do stay with us. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am alright. Long time. I can't remember the last time I saw you.
Yeah, could be like maybe 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Alright, so I was telling people that we're going to be having a chat with an author. I want you to just briefly describe yourself and what is it that you do, as well as maybe just giving us a description of what kind of an author that you are.
Okay. So my name is Lindsay, KATCHIKA, CHAZIKA, and like you said, I'm an author. Apparently, I have like 12 published books so far, specifically children's books.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy writing for young adults. And basically, I love being home, cooking, baking, reading, of course. And I'm also the director of the Spur Foundation, which is a charitable organization.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So when was it that you discovered, or it was like that moment where you're like, oh, I can actually write things that can be published? Because writing is one thing, but actually writing for publication, that's also a whole other serious thing altogether.
Yeah, true. I think it's been a journey, honestly, because I remember starting to write at 6 years old, and that was mostly because of my grandmother. She really influenced that talent. She groomed it. She would always like bring a new book for me to read, and at first I really hated it. I thought she was being so tough because she was like, oh, no playing, you have to do your books and all that. But then at first it was just like something like a punishment, and then I started enjoying it. But I didn't really think then that like I would later be somebody who's writing books and that would be my career. So from there, when I went to secondary, I really loved writing. And most of my fellow students would like remember that I loved writing. And when I meet them, they're like, oh, do you still write? You know? So, but when I went to college, you know, college is hard. I wasn't writing then. And then later, I found a job at the museum, Chichiri Museum. And I started learning a lot about Malawian culture. And I was like, how come we don't know about this? How come they don't put this in school books, you know? So one of the things that really like was amusing for me was a meteorite, like a piece of space that actually fell Majinga. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And kids loved hearing about it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna write something about this. So that's how it started. It was something that wasn't really serious. My mom and dad helped me out, but it was like they were just helping me out to be like, hey, we'll see how far it goes.
Support system.
Yeah, exactly. Because I really was like, I tried to break the idea to them, like, you know, when I get this book, I'll sell 500 copies and then I'll be rich, whatever.
They were okay, ambitions.
Exactly. So I tried to make them to like invest in this idea. So then they invested, but I just gave out most of the books really. It was just like donating them because I was like, okay, this is just a start. I can't really expect much from it. But surprisingly, a lot came up of this. So yeah, my grandmother really modeled that. And then that's when later, 10 years or 20 years later, that's when I'm now an author.
A proper author now.
Yes, exactly.
All right, now, specifically, Mabukomo Malembandia children's books. Why children's books or young adults? What exactly fascinated you or had to draw you to this kind of audience?
Yeah, I think it's also like from my childhood. When I was reading the books that my grandma gave me, she gave me mostly were like fantasies, like, you know, Once Upon a Time, Snow White, Cinderella kind. Yeah.
Kalulu the hair.
Exactly. So I started to look at, like, I love them, and that's what I usually used to write then. But then I discovered, like, I didn't really see myself in those books. Like, it was always like somebody with a lighter shade, and it was about princesses and knights, and like there's
things that are not existing in your world.
Yeah, exactly. Those things don't happen now. So I started to think that I feel like our children, you know, though it would be really nice for them to get to read our stories. But also the problem is that, like in Malawi, we don't really have that reading culture. It's rare that you go out and see somebody holding a book and they're just reading.
True.
Like everybody's in the phone and whatnot. So I think a reading culture would be easier to groom from like an early stage than it is when somebody's already old and you give them a book. Exactly.
Yeah, it is hard.
So that's why I'm drawn more to kids, but also I think I'm just, my heart is just drawn to kids. I love kids, and and that's why I write for kids, and it's fun. Like I always tell people that when you read adult books, they're so depressing. And life is already depressing. Yeah. Why would I want to write the same thing? So, yeah, that's why when I write about children, like to do with children, children are funny, they're artistic, they're skeptical, they're mischievous, and
inquisitive.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why I enjoy it. I enjoy that space.
All right. So now going into the books that you've written so far, 12 published books, what kind of context is there? Because if you're thinking of children's books, you're thinking of Cinderella's, you know, all these fantasies in there. You also mentioned something about being culturally invested, you know, with the things that you write. What kind of context do you write in all these books? What kind of stories? Are they in Chichewa? Are they in English? What kind of, just give us a picture of the kind of stuff that you write.
All right, so I started with English at the beginning, and like you said, most of them are drawn to culture, and mostly right now, Lindsay's books is all about celebrating unsung heroes, because I believe that in Malawi, we don't appreciate our heroes as much, and most of them are women, because even when you go to an international level, you're reading books, they don't really, women are not really represented in the way that they should be celebrated. They're seen as domestic workers. Even in illustrations, we see that a lot. So that's what my goal with Lindsay's book is to celebrate those unsung heroes who are women. But also, like I said, we started in English, and then I thought it was really a good idea to celebrate our own culture, which is, you know, Chichewa. So some of the books now are in Chichewa. I think I have about 3 books in Chichewa under Lindsay's books, and then I have more outside Lindsay's books. So I have more Chichewa books that I've worked with other publishers on.
All right. So what's the distribution like, especially the goal also that you want to reach out to? Do you want these books to be found in school libraries or even in the school curriculum as well, you know, or it's just for kids when they're not at school?
So these books, initially, it was just like for people to buy. But then I saw a need that there are a lot of kids who don't have access to these books, because books are expensive. And for somebody to buy a book at, let's say, 10,000 kwaja and buy like Chimanga, they'd rather buy Chimanga than buy the book. Exactly. And that's why when I published the first book, I was just like giving it out to like vulnerable kids, whatever. But then I saw that there was a wrong approach. Because you can give it, I mean, I had a good heart, I'm giving it to vulnerable kids. Komano, they didn't have that surrounding or environment that is nurturing the reading culture.
The impact wasn't really made.
It wasn't there. So if we give it to like an orphanage, some people, like the books are not even being read. There's no reading programs. So it's like a deeper kind of issue. So now what we do with Lindsay's books, with the help of Kosoma, because Kosoma gave us some funding, what we do is to give those, to donate those books in places that already celebrate that culture, or they have a structure of reading kids. So we have worked with programs with Ladatu Learning, which have libraries in government schools.
Nice.
So we give them out, and they're going to government schools where most kids who cannot afford those books are. But also we know that the book is being read, because why there's a book that with it just collecting
that is
dust.
Definitely the most important part.
Exactly. So we're just hoping that they'll go as far as a lot of government schools, not only in Lilongwe but beyond, but also National Library is a big support. So they do take the books out there to kids, and we get a lot of good feedback from the kids as well. I
want to get into some of your work.
Sure.
Wildlife Warrior. This is her latest book, actually. Tell me, this is Malawi's first female wildlife
veterinarian.
Veterinarian.
Yes.
What is this all about, basically?
So this book, it all started when somebody had shared a post on Facebook about Love Kaona, who her story really interested me.
Yeah.
And her story, what makes it so different from the other stories as well is that it's really like relatable for the kids, that like the vulnerable kids and the kids in rural areas, because it talks about how she used to go to school barefooted and how she had less. And I thought, oh, her story is really inspiring. Not only is she the first wildlife female veterinarian, but also her story is very relatable, you know, and can be very inspiring to kids. So when I talked to her, she was really open. She was like, yeah, I'm excited and all that. Let's do this. So we got to meet, got to interview, and then write drafts. And then here we are. So basically, this book is also to motivate girls in science.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we don't have books as well as many as girls in science in Malawi. Most of them, it's like girls, like I said, domestic workers, or if you read a book, it's all about like a sad story, somebody's been orphaned or malaria. But then like it's just about like writing her story really creatively. So when you read the book, it's really about her life, but also how she got so interested in loving animals and how her career was built, and how from having less, she achieved her goals as well. Yeah, so that's basically what the book is
all about.
Yeah.
All right, amazing stuff. So now, you mentioned that you had to reach out to her and all that. I understand. This is not only I don't know, should we call it a biography in a way, because you're basically going through her life. I've seen one for Chief Kashindamoto as well here. How does the creative process go, like in a situation where you have to do with somebody else's story? I just want you to take me through that process. How do you consult them? Even with your writing, how does that happen? Do you just wake up and you're like, okay, today we're writing a book and here we go? Just take me through your creative process, basically.
Okay, so with these books, usually it's just about finding somebody's story that I relate with or I find inspiring for kids. And then I reach out to them and I have a meeting with them, and they tell me about their life and interview them.
So they're like narrating.
They are narrating
the details of their
exactly.
story. Okay.
So now they tell me a lot of things.
Yes. Are you recording them? Are you just taking notes? How does that even work?
Usually, like I just really hear them out, like just listen. And because the tricky part with a kid's book is like you can go, like for these books, you can go beyond 600 words. Okay. So like they tell you so much stuff.
But you have to like narrow it down to the important stuff.
Exactly. So I have to think about my audience. I have to think this is a story for a 6 to like 11-year-old. They will not understand child marriage, but they do need to know about it. Yeah. So it's like, how will I be so creative to put that down? And so I do start with just like putting out a sketch of whatever they have told me and stuff like that. So I think I find this a little bit simpler because it's like the story is already there. But when I'm writing my other books where I'm not writing about other people, I'm now like starting from scratch and all that. Now that takes a lot of time and takes months and going back to the work, scratching it down. And yeah, I have a lot of books that I haven't even published. Like it's just like I write half and then like, no, I don't like it anymore. Exactly.
All
so
right.
That's how it goes.
I hear you. I'm coming back to this, your latest book. I'm sure it was kind of launched at the book festival that we recently had in Lilongwe. How was it like, the book festival? For me, I think it was something like first of its kind. How was it like? I want to hear it from an author's perspective now. How was the book festival?
I really liked it. You know, I liked the idea. I'd also have been thinking like, why don't we have book festivals here? So being the very first kind, I think the organizers really did a good job. But also for like an author's perspective, I would say that like a lot of writers, they don't have markets. Like here in Malawi, it's hard to sell. Yeah, you can sell like on social media, but not as well as like physically there, where the book festival is also bringing potential customers, potential publishers, because it's everybody now who loves books. So for authors, I think it was a great opportunity to showcase and for people to actually know like me personally, because people have these books in their houses but they've never really met you. Yeah, exactly. So, and also we changed this latest book because all our books didn't have a little something about the author. So this one now we decided, oh, let's put a picture, because now also people can say, oh, this is made in Malawi. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think that was also a good way to engage with my audience and all that, and also to bring more opportunity for next time. Like there are people who are like, okay, I'd like to, publish a book, and we work together, or just I think it was good for them to actually ask questions and get answered. So yeah, it was a really good way to engage with my audience.
All right, apart from platforms like the Book Fest, do you think you authors specifically here from Malawi, do you think you have enough platforms, or do you think you're receiving enough support for you to still continue to pursue this good, amazing job that you do?
Yeah, I think we're not yet there, but we are trying right now. There are platforms like Malawi Writers Union, where I'm a board member as well, and I think they're really also doing a great job with bringing writers together, because that's the other thing, is like if we don't have a platform, because you have to have a support system as a writer, you need somebody to push you, and you also need to get inspired.
Yeah, true.
Exactly. But I also think that as Malawian writers, most of them are not improving, like most of them are not reading widely. So they're not improving. Most of them are writers, but they're not writing as much as they should be writing. And even like when you see most of the competitions, like international competitions, you see that if they bring out a list of people who actually applied, usually Malawi is not there.
It's not.
And if it was there, most of the winners are like in the West Africa, like Nigeria, Ghana. If it's Southern Africa, then it must be South Africa. So it also means that we need to work we need to push, we need to work twice as hard to get there. So yeah, I think the other thing is that now because some of the writers are not in such societies as well, they're not improving or learning as much. They don't know the publishing process, because somebody will just go like, oh, here I have a book, tomorrow I'm gonna launch it, I'm gonna publish it. It's not been checked, it's not been edited. So those type of things cannot go as far. So we really need to improve on that part. When it comes to like support from people, like I said, I think we're getting there. Like with the copyright fund and other funds that are supporting artists. I think we're getting there, but then we really need more support. We need more writers workshops, residency programs. So yeah, I think that's how we can get to improve.
Speaking of international inspiration, as a writer, as an author, I want to know the authors that you look up to, the authors that you can read them all day, any day, and the authors that you write and you're like, okay, this is something good.
This is really good. Okay, so my favorite author happens to be Roald Dahl, who was written most of the books that are now in movies, like Matilda, The Witches. So I really love the way that he writes. He's funny, he's really good at engaging with kids.
Funny.
Yes, exactly. So that's really my favorite. And I think when it comes to like young adult, most of my work is really inspired by like Chimamanda.
Chimamanda is really good.
Yes. There's Lola Soyinka, who wrote one of my favorite books, which is something about the secret lives of the secret lives of wives. I really like that book as well. So I have like most those are most, and then there's Nedi Okafor as well, Nigerian writer who writes more of like African futurism. So those are most of the writers that really inspire my work. But Roald Dahl is my favorite. I can read his books all day long.
All right, getting into your work again, what would you say is like the most challenging thing about writing, really? Yes.
I think it's actually starting to write itself, putting words on paper. I think that's
true, because I'm like, writing should be hard. Like you should be focused. You should not be hungry, I guess.
That's true, because you can't write on an empty stomach. So I think getting the words on paper, because they say that the writing process, most of it is in your head. 70% of it, because you are thinking of an idea. Okay, if I write this, how am I going to put a plot twist, whatever. So most of that much is just in your head, and then putting the right words. I mean, I like what Chimamanda said. After I think about 10 years, she had just brought up a new book, like after 10 years where she hasn't been writing, and she was like, you know, sometimes as a writer you actually forget to spell words. You go like, and when she started writing, she was like, oh, I can write. Yeah. So you have those days where you can't even spell, and you are like, okay, how do I spell?
You need to consult Google.
So yeah, those are usually the hardest part. And sometimes you have self-doubt if people are gonna love your work. Is it gonna go as far as competing on the international market? So yeah, and for people like me as well who are just introducing this type of literature in Malawi, it's also like hard to find people like editors, and because we also don't have editors who are specifically driven to children's books, so that's hard. So I have to use like a lot of people, like especially teachers who are teaching children. Yeah, those are the ones that
good experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's, so we're still growing, and
all right,
get there.
what is the end game for you? What is the ultimate goal for you as an author? Ineo, when I reach this far, I think I can sit down and be like, well done, Lindsay.
Yes. Well, that's a really tricky and good question. But I think it's getting the books really in the hands of children in Malawi, especially in rural areas. Because my dream is like one day when I'm like older, somebody should be like, oh, I read your books when I was a kid in this government school where we didn't have a library, and got to read your book and I was inspired, and here I am, I'm a writer, or I was inspired by one of the women, and this is what I've gotten to achieve. So that would be the 8 point for me. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Amazing. Lindsay, as we're wrapping up our chat, there are a lot of aspiring writers out there. Some of them are like, same thing that you're saying, I can't write, I can't. One day I wake up, I feel like, oh, enthusiastic, and the other day I'm like, oh, I can't read something that can go out there. I just want you to speak to that group of people right now.
Okay, so my words to the people that like aspiring writers is, I like the quote that says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Definitely.
So it's to get writing, put the words on paper. They might sound gibberish, but the hardest part is getting started. But when you get started, then hours will go by, and then you have a lot of words, and you'll be like, wow, I've written this much. But also to get to learn and to read. So you have to learn from the people that have gone further ahead, and you have to read the works of, you know, the people that inspire writing. You have to keep improving. Like I say, like Malawian writers, we need to work twice as hard to get there. So yes.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much for allowing this chat to happen. I really enjoyed every bit of it.
Thank you for the platform as well.
Thank you. And that's all we had time for in today's edition of The Art Beat. I'm sure if you had no idea who Lindsay CHAZIKA is or was, now you do, as well as the amazing job that she is doing in our country. Many thanks to you for being there. Remember that Art Beat comes to your screen every Tuesday from 6 p.m. The name is Yusoma Yorinda. Until next time, stay creative.